Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So today we're gonna start the resurfacing or refinishing of the deck, and it's one of those things where it's a little dirty and nasty. So we're gonna use a pressure washer, see if we can't get it kind of cleaned up and prepped, and then we'll be using Rustoleum's Rock Solid system. So this is both the Deck Start Wood Primer as well as the Deck Coat 6X. And essentially what I'm doing right now is just taking these railings off. So this railing broke a while ago, and by taking this bottom piece off, I can either kind of, weld the railing back together or figure out what I'm going to do as far as that goes. But I at least want to get this coat underneath here. That way this is all kind of nicely painted and hopefully like somewhat weatherproofed or something. So, but you can see the old railing that's left where this was bolted down and how thin that bolt is. So that bolt was nice and thick at one point in time, and just through the years is really thinned out. So each one of those pretty much snapped on me, taking them loose. Even the ones down here, both those snapped off. So whether or not I go with this exact same style again, I don't know. And it's kind of one of those things where maybe I need to do some sort of like rubberized gasket for this to make it a little bit easier. On the bolts, that way maybe the bolts don't rust so bad. Whew. But yeah, you can definitely see how those bolts are thinned down. And what I'm going to do is just wash the deck over real quick, try and get it as cleaned up as possible. We've got some pretty heavy wear in this section here where we walk in and out, as well as like some rusty spots from like where we put the shovels over the winter time. And then some stuff, like the little bit of mud stuff here, that was from when the solar panels were put in. The guys kind of tracked mud all over the place, and it was weird because I couldn't really wash that off. Of course, I didn't have a power washer at the time, so kind of bought that specifically for this and maybe other projects. But first thing I'll do is get to cleaning this, and then once it's nice and clean, I'm gonna take a really good look, see what all needs kind of like fixed up, what all like screws and nails need to be hammered back down, and go from there. It's kind of early in the morning for a day off. So it's about 8 in the morning, and you can kind of see, even though we cleaned this really good yesterday, there's already spider webs, leaves that have fallen down onto it. It's a little damp from the dew, which I'm hoping that doesn't affect like the paint's like dryability, because it needs to be like away from rain and stuff for 24 hours. So hopefully a little bit of dew is going to be fine. And we got this all pressure washed. That came out pretty good. Now we're in like the fixing little things and scraping phase. And yesterday we scraped pretty good, but this morning there's still some stuff that needs to be scraped. So it's just kind of one of those things where maybe as the wood dried, maybe a little bit more kind of came a little bit loose. And the better your prep now is, so the better you get everything, the better this will wind up turning out, because that deck stain or any kind of paint you put over your current paint is going to be sticking to this old paint. Well, if this old paint's flaking off now, then it's not a good substrate, it's not a good surface for your next paint to go into. So you want to make sure you prep it pretty good. Right now I'm just lightly scraping everything and checking to make sure everything's all good to go. I'm going over every surface, that way I've got everything set up properly. This over here I scraped real quick and it immediately like tore off this big section over here. So that's kind of good, I got that off now, as opposed to waiting for it to tear off later. And as far as like loose boards and stuff go, I was able to knock down a whole bunch of nails, but like some of the screws that were like standing up, they are kind of interesting. So like this one here is a lot like the bolts that I took out that had the railing here. They've decayed over the years. Same thing with like this one here. So that is not a screw anymore. And what I wound up doing is grabbing each board of the deck and seeing if there was any play. So some of these boards have a pretty good space in between them. I can get my fingers in. Some of them are much tighter and I can't. But for a bunch of these, it's like the screws and the nails, if the heads weren't already broken off, it was pretty much toast. So I ran in new 3-inch deck screws into these to help solid, or make this more solid. And I didn't have to do it to all of them, but I did have to put, well, probably at least 22 screws in on this. So both in this decking area here, as well as the stairs. This stair here was particularly funny because this one was one of them that screw head kind of broke off on. So this small one went right there in that hole. And the crazy thing is that this one here, you can see it's pretty far offset from where I put that one. Because whenever someone put that stair in, they missed. So now's an excellent chance to kind of correct things and get things fixed up. And then when we're all done, it'll be interesting because then essentially, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see the screw heads with that paint being so thick. If it'll go right over it and it'll be like, hey, how are these things even attached down? Or if there'll be like a small circle around where it's at. That'll be interesting to see. So, we're just pretty much prepping for the deck start, or the, deck start wood primer in the rock solid process. And for this one, for the previously painted or stained wood, it's got to be weathered wood. So it's got to be wood that's been out and about for at least 6 months. So if you wind up replacing a brand new step or something like that, you may need to have it weathered somehow. Then next, you clean the surface with a deck brush or deck cleaner. And the surface must be clean and free of dirt, grease, mildew, and other like organic growth. Loose paint and stain needs to be scraped or removed. And then it's got stuff like secure raised nail heads, deck screws, loose deck boards, remove loose splinters, and replace severely damaged or rotting boards. So essentially we've pretty much done that. We're kind of prepped up. I'm just kind of removing the last bits of not so great paint that's on here. And I'm not going super crazy with it. I just want to make sure that it just has decent pressure on it and it's kind of scraped up. That way any properly adhering paint stays properly adhered. Any crappy loose paint comes flying off. So this is going to be a bit still. Then we're just going to wash it off again. And then we'll go ahead and we'll apply this stuff, which will be another video. And probably the big reason why you really want to make sure everything's good and scraped is like this area over here. So with how this kind of looks, kind of reflects some of the light with the scraper here, this is pretty interesting. So I'm wondering if this is old paint that wound up having a whole bunch of weird stuff on it. So they kind of like when you pressure wash it and it's all just kind of flaky, stringy and stuff like that. And then they just went, it's far enough back, no one will notice that. It just painted it. So to avoid stuff like that, be sure to scrape. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll check you next time. But it was amazing yesterday looking at the nice clean dry wood and a nice clean dry deck last night when I let the boys out. And it was kind of one of those things where, you know, maybe it's one of those, once I get the deck washed or painted and finished and stuff like that, that, you know, yearly or seasonally and stuff like that, I should pressure wash it just to be safe. The wood looked really, really good too once it was good and dry. This kind of like dew soaked wood doesn't do it any justice.